Today I'm using something really foul to catch my dinner. Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. I'm down at the beach, I'm about to go beach fishing. It's a cracking day and I've brought with me some chicken breast because so many people rave about it. So let's see what we're going to catch off the beach with chicken breast. I'll explain everything that I'm doing. Stick around to the end for a free PDF download which will outline some vital keys from today's session. And if you're enjoying these videos and you love my videos and you want to help me on YouTube, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It certainly helps my channel and I want to make lots more videos for guys like you. Let's get started. So we're still in winter, guys, and it's a sunny day. The sea is almost dead flat. It's super clear, which is not always good for fishing. I'm standing in an elevated position, which I often like to do just so that I can get a good look at the terrain. And behind me I can see the shallow parts, the deep parts, and I can see actually a sandbar where the waves break occasionally, and just in front of it there's like a deep depression. And I think I can even see a school of fish from here. So I'm going to walk along the beach a few hundred meters down to that particular spot. I've had a good look around from where I'm standing and I'm going to head down there because in these particular conditions, you need to find somewhere that's got a little bit of wave action or white water. You don't want to be just going where it's super clear in the middle of nowhere. You're just not going to catch anything, or hardly ever anyway, if you do that. So I'm going to head down there now, and I have my chicken breast with me. I did bring some frozen salted beach worms as well because I wanted to contrast between the chicken breast and the beach worm. So I'm actually going to hold the rod with the chicken breast and fish with that. I'll chuck one out with a worm on it as well, and we'll just see what happens. I've heard so many great reports about chicken breast, and it's inexpensive. It goes a long way, so let's see how it goes. I never usually use frozen worms because I just get, I just catch them fresh every time, but I've got some here in this little sandwich bag that I salted and froze down. The salting's good because it does firm them up a bit. You can have a look at this and see how the worm actually looks really good when you look at the colour of it. So that piece of worm looks fine. Haven't put any red dye or anything in with that, but it looks really good. I've got enough worms just in that little bag to catch a meal if I wanted to. So I'm going to toss this worm bait out and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to prepare the fowl and see if we can catch some fish on that. So I've just really got a single long shank hook. I often fish with two hooks, but I'm only using the one hook. You can see that's the head end of the worm. You can see his head there. Yeah, it feels good actually. I think when it's salted like this, obviously it's a stronger bait. It stays on well. I think if I was to freeze the worms down without salting them, they'd probably go pretty sloppy. So I'm going to pull that up. I'll still pull the end over the hook like I usually do, and so that looks like a great worm bait. So I'm just going to toss this out and leave it there, and then I'll come back and I'll get my chicken set up. I can see the sandbar straight out in front of me, and there's a really nice steep drop in front of it. There's only very minimal white water because it's high tide right now. And I think this would be better as the tide goes out a little bit and the waves will break a bit more. But still worth having a fish. I have a relatively small, it's only a little light rod, this one. And I've got a relatively small star sinker on there. But I should be able to get out in the zone where I want to be. I don't want to be just on the edge here. I want to be out as close to that sandbar as possible. I thought I could see some fish out there, but I'm not sure. Okay, well that's pretty good. That bait landed in the deep depression, maybe only about 4 or 5 meters from the sandbar. So that's not a bad spot. I'll leave this in my rod holder while I go and prepare some chicken breast. Now this chicken breast that I bought from the local butcher actually. It's free range. So it was actually not cheap. Well, when I say not cheap, it was what? It was $17 a kilo. So I bought 2 pieces of chicken breast. You can see I've got one lovely nice piece of chicken breast there. Now I'm going to let you know what I'm thinking as far as cutting it up. So this is the tenderloin part of the breast. I'm just going to take the tenderloin off. I'll separate that from the whole breast. The idea really is to cut strips of meat. I'm using a 3/0 hook today. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little strip like that. That's actually quite a large bait, really. I think maybe I'll make it a fraction smaller. Yeah, I think I might just make that a little bit smaller. It's a little bit too big. So I'm going to use a piece of bait about that big to start off with. So I have a 3/0, just a single 3/0 hook here. You could use a stinger hook as well. I'll just show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to thread the hook through a few times. I'm leaving a little bit at the top because I'll probably put a half hitch around there. Just going to, very, very basic really. Put that bit of chicken breast on like that, and then I will do a loop and double it over and hold that in place. So really the end result is just like that. It's not going to come off. The hook's through it 3 times. So here goes. First time I've ever fished with chicken breast. I'll be able to get out a little bit further with this rod because the line is slightly heavier and I've got a slightly heavier sinker on as well. So I'm pretty sure I'll land right on top of that sandbar. Just got to wait for this wave to break. It's a lot of force, even though the swell's small. Those waves have a lot of force in them on the edge. Alrighty. I didn't quite make it to the sandbar then. I noticed that the chicken breast was flapping in the wind a bit, which slowed the cast down. So I kind of landed a little bit in the middle of nowhere. I'd rather be a bit further out towards the sandbar. I'll just wait a minute, and if necessary I'll wind my line in and chuck it back out again, I think. Here comes the water. That was a better cast then. I think that's a better spot. So I'm going to recast it. Wasn't totally happy with where it landed. I don't think it would matter as much if it was late in the afternoon and it was getting dark. I think the fish would be closer to the shore and they would be travelling around a bit more. But when it's so clear, like this in the middle of the day, I want to try and be near some structure or some white water. I had my first cast with the chicken breast and I actually ended up with a bit of line twist. Undoubtedly, probably partly from flying through the air. It wouldn't be so much of an issue if you're fishing in a lake or a river where you're not casting very far, but got a little bit of line twist then, so we'll see what happens this time when I cast it out. These are the sorts of places that if there's a school of fish travelling up and down the beach, they'll stop at a place like this and have a little bit of a hunt around. I'm just trying to steal a few extra metres and get out of here before I get wet. That was a much better cast actually. That time I landed right on top of the sandbar where those waves are breaking. So I might let it sit there for a second and then I'll pull it just over the edge, but that was far superior to my first cast. So I put my line in from my second cast. I thought I felt a bit of a bite and I've lost the bottom half of my bait has been taken, so I definitely had a bite. And I didn't get any line twists this time, so that was good. So I'm just going to go and put a little bit more chicken on. Interesting, but it was good that I didn't get any more line twist. Okay, come on, eat chook. I landed right in a good spot then, provided there's some fish there. So I've come down here today with two pretty light beach outfits. I have a light 10-foot beach rod, which is rated 4 to 7 kilos, coupled with a 5,000 reel and 15-pound monofilament line, and a fluorocarbon leader. My other rod is one of my estuary rods. It's only got 10-pound line on it, which is fine. I have a lot of fun with the brim and the whiting on the beach, just with a little 7-foot rod and the 10-pound line. So it's not rough conditions, I can use that. So I've got the worm on my 10-pound line, and I've got the chicken breast out on the 15-pound line. Whenever I come down to the beach, I'm always keeping my eyes open to see if I can actually see a school of fish. So how do you do that? How do you know where there's fish in the water? Well, when you look at the water on the beach, you'll see contrasts in water colour. Where the water is shallow, it'll be a really light colour. You can almost see the sand through the water. Then when the water is deeper, it's a darker, greener colour. Now, if you have the general colours of the ocean on the day, you might have like a nice light colour with a dark bit, but then there's like an in-between shade, like even like a little bit of a grey area or a browny grey area. You think that's not a sandbar, you know, and that's not the deeper water. It's different to the surroundings. Most of the time that's a school of fish. And also, if you notice, you see that different colour and then it moves. Like it's here 1 minute, then it's moved 20, 30 metres down the beach, then you know that it's a school of fish because it's moved. Also, oftentimes you get pelagic fish feeding on the surface. That's when you see a whole lot of seagulls and birds flying down to pick up the little bits of fish that the fish chop up. I haven't seen that so much lately, but very often when I go down to the beach, I'll scan the beach, I'll have a look around and I'll just look for shadows in the water, like a big shadowy patch that is different to the surrounding water. And that's pretty much how I can tell whether it's a school of fish or not. Hey guys, I've been down here. I've had a line in the water for about 40 minutes with my chicken breast and my worm. The worm hasn't had a bite. The chicken breast, I've had one bite that took half of my bait. So I'm actually not going to bother pushing this anymore because there's obviously a little bit clear, not enough action. I think this really would be much better here at low tide. That's my opinion. But at least I'm doing some research for you guys. I don't mind it at all when I come fishing. If I don't catch something sometimes, I'm always putting things in my memory bank, always learning. I love that whole part of it. So I'm going to pull my line in now. I'm going to come back down tomorrow morning at a completely different tide. When I arrived here today, it was right on high tide in a flat sea. But there's some good features on this beach that at low tide I think would be excellent. So I'm going to come back tomorrow morning. Low tide's about 7 a.m. So I'm going to come back at 7 a.m. once again with the chicken breast fillet. And let's just see what difference that makes on the same beach. Wow. So I've come down here the following morning. I'm in exactly the same spot that I was yesterday. And I'm doing the same thing. I've got worm on one line and I've got my chicken breast on the other rod. I just chucked this worm out. I think I might be getting a bite on the chicken breast as well. But this is a bit of the frozen worm that I had, same worm that I had yesterday. I just took it home and whacked it back in the freezer. And I've only just thrown my line out and I've got a fish, so that's good. Now you can see this looks so different to yesterday because it's low tide this morning and yesterday was high tide. okay up with this little wave. Okay, so this is actually a nice sized salmon. Got to be a little bit careful with this because it's only 10-pound line, which is a bit light for fishing for salmon. I'm not that I'm fishing for salmon, but so that guy took a frozen salted beach worm. I'm just going to let him go because I expect I'm probably going to catch a lot more fish over the next little while. Just watching my other line. I wonder if the salmon like chicken. Well, come on, off you go. He'll get this bit of water coming up. He'll be good. There he goes. Whew. He was keen. All right, so I fished this spot yesterday at high tide in the middle of the day, and I only had one small bite. So it's already made a difference coming down at low tide in the morning. I'm keen to see how that chicken breast goes though. So I toss this guy back. Look, I actually, because my worm is salted, it's kind of slipped up the hook a little bit. I can push it back down onto the hook. So really I've got my whole bait back. There you go. I can toss exactly the same bait back out again. It shows you how much difference it makes when you've got a bit of action and a bit of white water. It's quite different to on the high tide. So I'll pull my other line in, I think. I want to see if I've had any bites on this bit of chicken. It looked like I was getting some bites. Now, I'm pretty much here right on low tide. So the tide will be turning and starting to come in, which is also a really good time to fish. Right, I've still got my chicken on here, so I haven't lost any bait. I'll toss that back out again. I'm hoping for a bite on this chicken. I'm in some reasonably good water. It looks like the typical spot where you could catch a brim. I'm not expecting to catch a whiting on chicken. But anything's possible. I might get a surprise though. I hope I get a surprise on the chicken. I really do. It would be great. So far, worms 1, chicken none. Oh yeah, that was a bite. That looked like a bite then. Just stand and hold it for a second. The water's not that deep out there, but it's certainly deep enough to catch a fish. We'll give this place a go for a few minutes. And then there's some lovely features along the beach as we go along the beach. So I think I might try this in a couple of different locations. The sort of water that I've got in front of me looks typical that you'd catch brim and whiting in. It's a nice little channel, a little bit of white water. That's why it's worthwhile tossing out the bit of chicken, because I know brim like chicken. But I think it's still good to prospect and try a couple of different places along the beach. I'm going to have one more cast with my worm bait here. I haven't had a bite on the chicken. And then I'm going to move along the beach a little bit and try the next, just pick another nice little spot and have a go there. I just want to toss my line into this little trough over here and see if I get a bite. See if, I'm not getting a bite on the chicken, but just see if there's a brim or a whiting just down on the edge of that sandbar. I've just got to test it before I leave this spot. It looks too fishy. See, even the salmon often swim up into those tiny little gutters in search of food, so we'll see if there's anything here. It's amazing scenery this morning with one half of the sky is all blue And then the other half of the sky is really dramatic cloud. I'm not getting like, you know, massive bites straight away. I did catch that salmon, but so far it's not like, you know, often, well really a lot of the time when I come down the beach, I'm just getting bites really quickly. So spot number one, I've caught a salmon pretty quickly. I've had no bites on the chicken and no other bites on a worm. So I'm just going to grab my gear and wander along the beach until the next spot that looks okay. We'll try there. I've still got my original worm bait. I haven't lost it. That's the same bait that caught the salmon, but that's big enough. So whack that on there. What a cracking morning it is. I can see some deep water really close to the shore, just up a bit further. It might be worth a look. The water is like really a steely grey-green colour, reflecting from the clouds. I wouldn't cast my line out just here because it's just really super shallow just here. No real depth of water. I'm kind of standing in front of a sandbar and there's a deeper trough a bit further up. That deeper trough up there, up in front of me, there's a sandbar island that's not far out from it. So that looks pretty promising. I usually like that type of feature. I can see just here, there's actually like a big open area of green water. There's a really shallow sandbar kind of perched in the middle out the back, and there's a bit of a deep trough in front of it. So that looks pretty promising. So I'm just going to go and whack my line straight out there. It's the sort of spot that you'd really expect to catch something. Just going to put a bit more on. A bit more of that. I'm going to leave the barb exposed a little bit. Lovely big worm bait. Well, I'm going to whack that out. I'm going to toss this straight at this shallow sandbar. I'm sure you guys can see it. It's within casting distance. However, I can see that there's water movement going off to my left into this rip, into this channel out there. I think if I cast a little bit to the right, there'll be a nice kind of dead spot where there's not much current. Always got to make sure these rod holds are in far enough so that if something pulls your rod, it doesn't pull everything over. Now, it's going to wander out a little bit because this is just a little rod. I'm getting okay distance on this light line, but I just want to wander out this bit further and then go flicko. Yeah, that's totally landed where I wanted to land. Man, I think something's got to take that worm bait where it landed. It just looks too good out there. So I'm just setting my drag so that if something takes it, it can pull a little bit of line out. And now I will get my chicken bait, whack that back out again. Okay, let's give this chicken another go. Something has to take the chook. Everything loves chook. Oh, look at my rod. No way. My little rod is bending. So what is going on here? Okay, so I've got a fish on the worm. And I did manage to get my chicken out. It's possibly a salmon. It hasn't jumped yet. Gee, my sinker's come halfway up my line. Wow, that's interesting. I'm just going to pull this up here. Yeah, it's another salmon. Look at my sinker. It's kind of gone up my line and got stuck. Okay, so that's first cast in that little spot. I've got this fish. Oops, caught around the tip of my rod. I'm just keeping my eye on that chicken bait. Now it'll be interesting to see that we know there's salmon out there. If we don't catch any salmon on chicken, it's kind of just telling us obviously that they don't like that. Now this guy's swallowed the hook, so I'm going to keep him. You can still cast quite a long way with just a little fishing rod like this. So I've caught both of my fish this morning on this little 7-foot rod. It's going to loosen the drag a little bit. I expect I'm going to get another fish on that. Now I need to check the chicken. See if I've actually even had any taken. All right, so I've lost some bait. Just got a slight little tangle. Half of my chicken bait is gone. So that's a positive. It's something. So I'm going to put another chicken bait on, but I'm going to try something different. I actually brought down some garlic because I know a few Italians who fish with chicken and they love putting garlic on it. So I'm not sure whether that makes much difference or not, but give it a go. Now I'm not going to put this spoon back in the garlic because this is good garlic out of my fridge, but I will keep this on here. I'll cut a nice little strip of chicken. I don't need all of that. Just going to roll that around, get that nice garlic flavour on it, and I'm going to whack that on my line. I think that when I'm putting on the worms, now the worms are going to smell like garlic as well. I'm just interested to know. It's weird because I know guys who use Parmesan cheese. They put garlic and Parmesan cheese on their bait. Even a bit of curry powder. Some people, believe it or not, some guys use curry powder when they make up different baits. Now I'm certainly casting this into really good looking water, so you'd have to think you're going to catch fish out there. And the tide has turned, it's starting to come in. So really it's a really good recipe. Okay, swells maybe fractionally bigger this morning, not much. That's landed virtually on that sandbar. Where my bait landed is in that white water out the back where the waves are breaking. I'm just going to pull it forward a little bit just to make sure it's just over the edge of that drop off there. Now I did get a bite on the chicken. I could see my rod going before, but it didn't obviously get the hook, whatever took some of the bait before. So I'm giving this chicken a good go. All right, we'll leave him there for a minute. It's a nice little, we can stay here for a little while, I think, at this spot. There would be a lot of similar spots up and down this beach, but I think this is as good a spot as any. Got another one. I'm just going to pull this in. My line's been out there for a while. It hasn't been all that busy, so, but there are fish there. My line's actually been sitting out there for like about 20 minutes. Maybe not that long, 15 minutes, but I have got another fish, so that's good. Now it's heading north. It's heading underneath my other line, so hopefully I don't get tangled in my other line. I'm gonna have to walk up this way because it's really gone up the beach, this fish, which is typical of a salmon, but I'm hoping that maybe, now where's my other line? Just want to see where my other line is. Oh no, it's slack actually. Oh, I think this one might have got my other line. Okay, I'm just going to bring this guy up. Is he tangled around my other line? Oh no. So this is salmon number 3 on the worm bait, but I've caught nothing. So far I've caught nothing on chicken, but I'm certainly catching a feed with worms. Actually this guy is a little bit bloody. So I've just landed my 3rd salmon for the morning on my frozen salted beach worms. I'm really happy with them. I normally just use fresh worms because I can just catch them at so many beaches near where I live. But the frozen salted worms have been great. But so far on the chicken, I've caught nothing. I have had a bite. I've had some of the chicken taken, but haven't landed a fish. So I'm hoping I do at some point. I would think that if salmon liked chicken, I should have hooked a salmon by now if I've caught 3 salmon on the worms, but that hasn't happened. So I'll keep going. So I've caught several fish on my frozen beach worms, but nothing on the chicken breast fillet. I'd love to know if you've caught any fish on chicken, whether it be in an estuary or off the beach. If you could let me know in the comments, that would be great, and how you rigged it up or what you did to catch fish, that would be awesome. I'm not giving up on the chicken. I'm going to try it in a couple of other places as well, but on this particular occasion, it was chicken 0 and worms were the big winner. If you'd like a free PDF download of some vital keys from today's session, hit the link in the corner or in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love making the videos. I have a great time coming down the beach and just sharing what I'm doing with you guys. I look forward to seeing you very soon in the next video.